At what point is it ever okay to boo an injury? I think a lot of times as sports fans, people forget that people are human beings. And so we get to a point where we look at how someone's playing on the field and we judge them by it. And then when they aren't performing to a level of expectation to what we had, we continue to get upset. We then take our frustration out and, we say things that we shouldn't say. Like somebody misses a 3-pointer, all of a sudden it's the end of the world. And we being honest, right? Gambling doesn't help. Somebody puts money on the line, you see people get upset and then they hold a grudge. I remember one time when I was working at Best Buy, Terrell Suggs, NFL player, future Hall of Famer, came in and one of my coworkers said, "Man, you lost me $50 because the Ravens lost." He said, "I didn't lose you shit." And his reaction was because he never told you to bet on the game. And that's the thing. Like you see this a lot of times in fantasy sports. And then, like I said, it's gotten worse now with parlays and stuff because people are betting on situations, right? And they feel that they have this entitlement. Well, this past week in the NFL, Deshaun Watson went down. And it looked to be all but confirmed a torn Achilles, which will more than likely put him out for the rest of the season. And if we're being honest, after the way this season went, plus all of the allegations, his career may be over if we're being straight up. And the fans in Cleveland cheered. They cheered when he went down. So frustrating to the point that Jameis Winston, a teammate of his, called him out. Myles Garrett called him out. Now, this is what makes this situation complicated. Let's go back. Deshaun Watson was playing for the Houston Texans. And around 2019, the 2019 season, matter of fact, during this time, Octoberish, it was him and Lamar Jackson, the two guys. Who's going to be MVP? It was the MVP race. The Texans was on their way to, well, they would make the playoffs and reach the divisional round, but they were having an incredible season. Now, the Ravens will play them. By then, Lamar Jackson will run away. But he was one of the best players in the league, one of the more popular players. He was a champion at Clemson University. But he requested to be traded. Then all of a sudden, there were women who came forward saying that he sexually assaulted him. He was known to get massages, and there's, in these documents, you read them, there's documents where he would request they do things that they didn't want to do, and he would force them to do things he wanted to do. Now, at first, when this all happened, you started to wonder, like, wait a minute. So he wanted to be traded, and the owner probably didn't want to trade him. So then all this stuff come out. But then you really started thinking, it's really hard to get 20 plus people to tell the same lie. So I reserved judgment, right? Because I didn't know. And I saw more stuff come out. Well, fast forward. I believe he was suspended or maybe he was injured. But either way, he couldn't play. Right? I believe it was an injury. Couldn't play. The Cleveland Browns signed him to a mega deal and all guaranteed money. Got people who are Ravens fans who are upset because at the time, Lamar Jackson was up for his deal. And this deal was unprecedented because now Lamar said, well, I want a fully guaranteed contract. You got all these other quarterbacks saying they want a guaranteed contract. People who play better than Deshaun Watson. People went further in the playoffs than Deshaun Watson. And so Cleveland didn't play ball. Well, he was, by the time he came back, he was decent, whatever. Then he got hurt again. This year, hasn't been playing well. And this week, he went down to injury. And I thought it was unfortunate. I thought it was very unfortunate that he was booed because of an injury. It's like, and Myles Garrett said it best. This man gave up his body. He works hard, regardless of how you feel. He works hard to try to put smiles on these people's faces, because what happens when you're winning, right? If we're being honest, most of that stuff goes out the window. Fair or not fair. Nobody's sitting up there judging anybody when you're winning. It's all cute when you're winning. Now, when you're losing, you're the worst player in the world. See how that works? Right? So I thought it was unfortunate. I'm not going to tell anybody how they should feel about the Deshaun Watson situation. Like I said, I don't know, the facts. I wasn't there. It's a very difficult one, because it's like, well, you never want to be insensitive to people who are coming forward. You want to listen. You want to hear what they're saying or read what they're saying. And then at the end of the day, the NFL allowed him to play football. He's been given a job to do. And I believe because he wasn't performing at the job that they paid him to do and fans pay for him to do, that's why they're upset. I don't think they was booing him because he had allegations. And I saw this tweeted and said, remember, the fans didn't turn on him until he wasn't good at football anymore. That's something that's crazy. And it's really, really ridiculous that people would take time to boo a player who was hurt on the field. It's ridiculous. Like I said, feel how you want to feel. Personally, there's players I don't like. They get hurt, I'm not going to boo them. Or I should say, I'm not going to cheer the injuries, right? Not. Two wrongs don't make a right. And it's like I said, you don't wish death on nobody, even somebody who do you wrong. You don't wish death on them. And you can even make the argument with this, like, just be mutual. That's all. Coming up today on this episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings, folks, we got championships won, we got a World Series set, and we got Donald Trump making the rounds. Coming up after these messages.
I'm excited to talk more about my background.
Also worked in so many places of media, which you will find out more. Two friends who like wrestling that talk about wrestling, to now let's start a podcast. And
grassroots style, the way me and Brian have done it. Every opportunity is an opportunity. Kind of makes me want to step my game up a little bit more, just because the space is so oversaturated. Anyone can start a podcast. I live in New York City, so there's, opportunity everywhere in New York. Like, everyone's doing something. You go to a bar for happy hour, the bartender has a business.
And you apply that same strategy to network. You being very intentional. Find your why. What's the reason? Then do it.
Podcasting allowed me to break out of my comfort zone, to break out of my shell. This is 6HM Productions.
I just want to remind you that you can save 10% on your order with Symphony of Balloons, a luxury balloon company that also offers a 360 camera. Just simply mention you heard about them on Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. I am your host, Brian H. Waters. This show is brought to you by B. Waters Productions and 6HM Production. Make sure you check that out. Woo, folks. Let's start with the negative. Donald Trump, he's going to be on Mark Calloway's podcast. Now, if you watch the McMahon documentary, you know exactly who that is. If you're a wrestling fan, you know who that is. That is The Undertaker. Now, what was very interesting was that The Undertaker, played by Mark Calloway, and Kane, played by Glenn Jacobs, who is also the mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee. They both had Trump sitting there taking a photo, and he did this promo, right? And said, if you want to be like us, if you want to be on the side of Undertaker, Kane, and Donald Trump, vote for Trump or something. Or you could be on the side of Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and Batista. Well, the internet took that and ran with it. You saw so many people come out and admit that they were Batista fans. They talked about Batista beating The Undertaker, talk about how he was better, had better movies, all this other stuff. And, I talked about Hulk Hogan earlier this year. And now we look at The Undertaker. And sometimes it just sucks that wrestlers, the characters, have political views, And then you look at people like the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not going to call them legends. I'm going to call them alumni. That is Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. Now, the reason why I'm going to reserve the right to call them alumni and not legends, because in their heyday, they did not bring a championship, unlike their counterparts. I saw a tweet from Ryan Clark where it said, you have Pittsburgh Steelers greats, the family of Franco Harris, Jerome Bettis, and I'm drawing a blank, but it was somebody else who was great during the 70s, right? Pushing for Kamala Harris. And then you got Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell pushing for Donald Trump. Now, the funny thing about this, like I just said, they weren't champions, right? Even worse, they were both head cases. Le'Veon Bell got into it with the Steelers and eventually left, and his career was never the same. Played for the Jets for a little bit, didn't really work out. Played for the Ravens. We know that didn't work out. Antonio Brown, well, he was always in trouble. And I think at that time, a lot of people started respecting Mike Tomlin more because it was like, man, you dealing with this nutcase. But the thing that bothered me wasn't so much about their views, right? Because it's one of those things like, all right, whatever. I mean, at this point, you see people root for Trump. And I'm like, okay, so you want to support somebody who is has a hatred towards a group of people? Fine. That's who you are, right? Because even like Mike Tyson talk about, well, that's his man's and he knows. Of course he wouldn't explain it, but like, he's like, yeah, I used, he know me and this, that, and the other. But the thing that bothered me was when I saw the shirt that said Trump or Tramp. In 2024, we are doing this. And I knew this was going to come eventually. And it's so sad. You're calling a woman who's running for office, who has different views, who has different, maybe see things differently, calling her out of her name, calling her degrading. Trump or Tramp? That was what the shirt said. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it just goes to show, where's the respect for women? Whether she was running for office, whether she's not, where is the respect for women? And I was like, I was like, I know this is going to happen sooner or later. Somebody's going to say something so disrespectful, degrading, and setting people back, and it's unfortunate. But then again, when you talk about Le'Veon Bell, when you talk about Antonio Brown, do you expect more? Not at all. Not at all. Did y'all see this clip with Diddy, right? And it was a clip that the Shade Room posted. Diddy was on a show and they asked him his last words. And his last words was, I did it. And everybody was like, ha ha ha, it's funny. Well, it's funny how all of that happens, right? Because people tell on themselves without realizing it. And you wonder, everything that's happening now, and unfortunately, if Diddy was up against time and it was his last words, if he said I did it, that takes on a whole different meaning. So we've been watching the story unfold. I think it's going to continue to unfold. But man, his downfall is one to be studied. One to be studied for sure, man. I want to invite you to check out my mother's book, The Tears Behind My Smile. This book is a tribute to my uncle, but it's about not only celebrating his life, but it's also a reminder of how family and true love can endure even in the face of life's greatest challenges. So make sure you check out this book. You can find it on Amazon. The link is in the bio. The Tears Behind My Smile by Robin Waters.
Welcome back to Where WWE Meets Pop Culture, and it is me, Queen PR. We get into all of this past week's wrestling and pop culture news, all the top rope tea. Thank you for blessing us with these photos of you this dress, honey boo, phew, with the hot emoji. I can say, she said hi, I said hi, and I was like, oh my God, that engagement was crazy, and it was just such an easy opening, and she was like, right? So she also wore a Fashion Nova dress, but the way it hugged her, I'm like, yes, queen, with some Steve Madden heels. Shout out to my millennials if y'all know about the Steve Madden. Deep purple. And these are one of those occasions where like the whole look works, because even I feel like the beard even goes with the look. Like, it seems random at first, but then it kind of makes all the sense in the world. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is not the first time this happened.
But now let's bring on some positive before we get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now official that the New York Liberty are your WNBA champions. Now, if you've been following me, I told you I've been playing with the Liberty on NBA 2K25. I almost called it WNBA 2K25. And we won the championship. But it happened in real life. 5 games, Sunday night, prime time, where the HUT levels, homes using television, are the highest. And all eyes was on the New York Liberty. I thought it was phenomenal. Now, I know there's all this talk about the foul. It wasn't a foul, wasn't it? I don't care. Basketball happened. It was great. It was everything we wanted. And shout out to the Liberty. Shout out to John Jones becoming the WNBA Finals MVP. If you would have told me that Stewie and Sabrina was going to have a bad game, I would have said, oh man, that means the Liberty are not going to win. But no. They found a way. Heart and determination. Shout out to the Minnesota Lynx. They are here. Expect to see them again. We could run this back next year. Who knows? But in a year in which women's basketball was on an all-time high, numbers unprecedented, this was the perfect way to go out, and I love every bit of it. Now, moving on to baseball. The finale isn't going to happen the way I had hoped, but nonetheless, it's what the MLB wanted. It is the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the New York Yankees in the World Series. We got Shohei Ohtani. We got Aaron Judge. We got Mookie Betts. We got Giancarlo Stanton. We got Freddie Freeman. And we got Juan Soto. Man, this is going to be interesting. There's a plethora of other all-stars and superstars. I mean, you got New York, you got Los Angeles. I'm making it clear, I'm rooting for the Dodgers. My National League team, they won it in 2020. I was excited. I was hoping for Orioles-Dodgers World Series, but we didn't get it. But you got the game's best players, and this is going to be fun. Baseball needs this. Can this be the World Series that saves baseball, that makes baseball something that everybody's going to want to watch every single year? It's got to go 7, right? It's got to, I mean, they got to like try to top the WNBA finals, right? 7 games, the extra inning stuff, they don't add the runner on the base, whatever, but it's got to go 7. We'll see. Game 1 is going to be interesting. You got Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani, both of the league leaders in home runs. This is what the league needed. Now, listen, you put the Orioles in there, it still would have been great, right? Because you got all those young guys, they're marketable, they're fun. It would have been great, but, you got 2 of the most storied franchises. The team that's won the most NL pennants versus the team that's won the most AL pennants. Talk about it. So we're going to see. I'm ready to watch. First, I didn't think when the Orioles went down, I was like, I ain't going to watch this. I'm done. But now I'm watching this. Buckle up, folks. But ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this week's episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. Yeah, it came a little bit early, but I'm busy this week. And I had some things I had to say. Until the next time, folks, make sure you do not let anyone place a ceiling above your success. Take care. Are you a podcaster who is looking to share clips from your show in the simplest way possible? Well, I have the best solution, and that's Opus Clip. Opus Clip allows you to take the link to your show, upload it, and then they will clip off some of the best moments. And it allows you to edit it, change the captions, change the colors, and they also give you a viral score so you know which clip can potentially generate more buzz for your show. So, if you're looking to do that, click the link in the bio, sign up for Opus Clip, and go viral with some of the best content from your show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to support this podcast by wearing a t-shirt, whether it's the one that says Breaking Through Glass Ceilings or the one that says No Ceilings Above Success, simply go to foryourwear.com. Also, you can support some of your other favorite podcast and content creators, including Those Wrestling Girls, Seahawk, and the Wrestling Club. And you can support some of your favorite independent wrestlers, including Jay Bougie, Trisha Dora, Chaz the Don. Shoot, all the Pure Ignorance is on there. So go on foryourwear.com, go under personalities, you'll find Brian H. Waters, and buy a t-shirt. And remember, I'll give you a shout out on the show.